This is the Sheriff 25 from Victory, a 2-channel amp that can sound like this. Or, with the flick of a switch, it can sound like this. Before we go any further, this is a sponsored video, but I'm allowed to say anything I want, and all these thoughts, words, and bum notes are mine. According to thesaurus.com, a sheriff is a law enforcement officer, also known as a constable, dirty, an officer, and a marshal. Clever, Victory amps. Channel 1, the vintage channel, is based on something from the 60s, think sort of bluesbreaker-y PLEXI style amp. And then channel 2 is the hot rod channel, which is something more JCM 800, think 80s rock. It is immense fun. I've had it in the studio for a couple of months now. I've been using it in guitar reviews and pedal reviews, and now's the time I review the amp itself. But before we do that, I am very close to 100,000 subscribers, which is a massive milestone for an independent channel like mine. So I reached out to a bunch of guitar companies and asked if they would like to celebrate this with me. And they all said yes. So I have some very cool prizes to give away once I reach 100,000 subs. If you want more information on how to win, I'll tell you at the end of the video. At 25 watts, this is designed to give you usable tones, but at reasonable volumes. So rather than having to crank your 100 watt Marshall head and full stack to levels of an aeroplane passing by, this you can comfortably play in your house, as I'm doing now. Or you can gig it as well, because it still does get extremely loud. Thank goodness for those master volumes. On the front panel, we've got a gain for the vintage channel, and then a gain for the hot rod channel, and in between those is the switch to go between those two channels. Then bass, middle, and treble, that's a shared EQ. Then over here we've got, this is very clever, 2 master volumes, one for the vintage channel and one for the hot rod channel, so you can set them independently. And then right on the far side, just before that blue jewel light, is a presence knob. Round on the back, there's an in-series effects loop, a master volume auto assign, which we'll talk about in a little bit. There's a socket for a foot switch. There's 3 speaker outputs. There's also a bass focus switch, a presence shift switch, and bias adjust points on the outside of the amp, so you can bias the amp without having to open the chassis. The amp comes with 3 12AX7 tubes in the preamp section and 2 EL86 tubes in the power section, although it will accept EL84s, but if you put those in there, you're going to get slightly less volume output, which is why they put the 86s in there. And if you do put EL84s in there, don't forget to rebias the amp using the handy-dandy outside bias points. Again, very clever, Victory. Enough talking, time for some more sounds. Let's go through the whole amp and twist some knobs with a Strat and then with a Les Paul, so you can hear humbuckers versus single coils. Before I start, the Sheriff 25 has no internal reverb, so I've got the Plethora X3 from TC Electronic in the effects loop. And this beauty is the Eric Gale's signature guitar from Magneto. So that's bass, middle, and treble straight up. Let's play with the gain first. Yeah, I dig that a lot. Right, let's see how clean it can get. So what I'm going to do is push the gain all the way down, and then the master of channel 1, no, that's channel 2, master 1, all the way up, and see what happens. stunning again, and opening up the power amp of this has made the amp super dynamic. So before it was a little bit, you know, gritty, hairy, but fairly predictable in levels of volume. But this is a real touch sensitivity to it. Yeah, so I actually feel a little bit scared of it in that mode. Let's mess around with the EQ. Okay, I was a bit worried that this wasn't going to be very bassy, or it was going to be super top end and trebly like the Marshall SV20 is. That is super screechy in that top end. This, the treble is nowhere out of control, so you can certainly dampen it a little bit with the treble knob. Keep doing that. But it doesn't get anywhere that's too bright. I'm sure if I went to the bridge, it would be ear-piercing, but the neck is where I sort of sit on a Strat these days. And then the middle is nice for clarity. This is a clear amp. And then that bass is actually flapping my trousers behind me, which is a wonderful feeling. I want to just go over to the hot rod channel with the Strat, but I'm mainly going to play the humbuckers on that because of that. That's a lot! Let's put more bass. I was not expecting that to sound good with a Strat, but it really does. It's out-marshalled my Marshall that I used to have, the SV20. It still sounds great. It sounds super kind of bassman and sort of PLEXI when you're really, really loud. And the thing is, that is loud, but it is not super loud. So let's go humbuckers with this Custom Core 150 from Heritage. I am excited. So we're going to go vintage channel first. Something 60s. That's a good tone. That's for the neck pickup as well. Bridge pickup. It's great. It could do with a little bit more bass, I think. So let's push the bass up on that and see how bass it'll go. It's just a good amp. There's no two ways around it. It took the Strat well, it's taking this well. I'm interested to know if it takes pedals well. We'll do that in a bit. Let's go for, I want to go for the hot rod to see what happens. There's a lot of gain on tap. I'm off. That's how little gain I put it on. great sound. Oh, that's beautiful. Let's push that master a little bit and take that gain all the way down on the hot rod channel. That is that the right one? Yeah, that is the right one. I'm getting there. This might be the best Marshall amp I've ever played that isn't a Marshall, and better than most of the Marshalls I've played. Just to have, let's just switch back between to the vintage. I'm getting excited, I can't talk. And then back to hot rod. Can still with a bit more bass. Or maybe it's mids I need. Oh dear, I'm absolutely in love. What a fantastic amp. Let's see if it down tunes, and I'll put some sort of drive in front of it to give it even more push into the preamp stage. I've got this Fender Jaguar tuned to dropped C, and I've got a palette of pedals just here. I'm going to go for the Archer Select to push that front end and see what happens. So yeah, you can push it. I don't think the Archer's the right pedal for that, but it's certainly loud. Yeah, that was loud. Let's move on from that quickly before I'm not able to play guitar anymore or hear a guitar anymore. Let's go back to this pretty guitar. There are 3 switches on the back which affect the tone. We've got the presence shift, so let's play with that for a minute. Okay, I'm hearing clarity there, so it's shifting where that presence is pushing, so a bit more air, a bit more top end. Now, the bass focus. I almost forgot what it's called then. The bass focus. Now what that's doing is cutting some of that low end, taking away some of the flub, and I hope that you're listening through quality studio monitors, or at least headphones, and you're not watching this on your smartphone. You're not, are you? Good. Because if you are, you wouldn't have heard the benefit there. It's a very subtle but noticeable difference. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't understand what the master auto volume switch did. It confused me. I read the manual, I was still confused. With it on, I get it. Vintage channel gain and master volume 1. Hot rod gain, master volume 2. Perfectly understandable. But when you turn the auto volume switch off, master volume 2 did nothing and only master 1 adjusted both channels. So I didn't know what was going on until I plugged in the foot switch. This rather pretty foot switch, which makes me think I've won an award at school, can change you between master 1 and 2 and channel 1 and 2. So, let me demonstrate. This is vintage channel and master 2. Vintage channel master 1. Great! So you can have 2 different master volumes, and then if you change to the hot rod channel, makes perfect sense. However, I don't know which one I prefer. I really like the auto volume, so you can see what's going on just there. But now I've got the foot switch. I think I prefer having more control over the amp. And I can definitely stomp that with one foot. So stomp it that way, or stomp it that way, or Let me demonstrate. I can do that. I can do that. And I can do that. So, yeah. It's still as controllable as with the auto volume, but I like the auto volume switch being there. You can make up your own mind which one you prefer. Oh, a bit dizzy now. Let's see how it takes this legacy fuzz pedal. Okay, it passes the fuzz test, took it beautifully like a champ, and I might prefer it to my Fender Deluxe Reverb. All right, what about high gain? So let's get the amp as clean as we can and then go high gain with the Rev G3. That is a glorious, glorious sound. I am deeply enamored with this amp. I think Victory are onto something huge here. It is the most versatile British Marshall style amp I've ever played. I love the PLEXI 60 stuff and I love the JCM 800 series. And to have both of those sorts of sounds in one amp is super versatile because I'm running out of space in my tiny little studio. So again, honesty, I didn't know this did JCM 800 that well. I've been using the vintage channel a lot in my demos. I've barely touched the hot rod channel, so this experience with this amp has really made me happy, and future videos will definitely have more of that that hot rod channel in it. This is also made in England, just like me, and it's coming in at £1,199, which I think is an absolute steal for steel. Possibly. It's a steal for an amp of this caliber, and if you are looking for something Marshall-y, try this out before you go anywhere near just the M brand, okay? Marshall are doing some better stuff these days, but that is head and shoulders above anything that's come out of Milton Keynes or China. One thing that you might not like is the aesthetic. I dig it, and I think it's super portable, light, and have no problem, especially in the studio. But on stage, there's something to be said for those wooden sort of cab things. And don't worry, the Sheriff 25 also comes in a cab. And Victory call it the Sheriff 25 Compact Head. There's also the VS100 Super Sheriff and the VS100 Super Sheriff Wide Body, so it'll fit a 4x12 cab looking like a standard big old amp. And if you like the sounds of this thing but you can't quite push to the £1,199 that this is, there's also the V1 Sheriff Pedal, which is the Drive. Then there's the V4 Sheriff Preamp, and then there's the V4 Sheriff Pedal Amp, which is a Sheriff in a pedal format, giving you an amp as well that you can power a cab with. And it's got 2 notes inside it. In fact, if this had 2 notes dynamic IR out and a load box in it, this would be the ultimate British Marshall style amp. So Victory, that's something for the future. If you want more information about the Victory and prices in your region, there are links in the video description. And speaking of video description, let's give you more information about my 100,000 subs giveaway. I have 10 prizes to give away from various different guitar amp, guitar pedal companies and guitar companies. I'm going to announce each prize every time I get 1,000 more subs. So we're about 90 at the moment. When it gets to 91, I'll announce the first prize. The way you enter is by visiting the link in the video description, which is just down there. It's super simple. So the faster you sub, the quicker you get the prizes. I'm going to go and play that a little bit more, but for you, there's a subscribe button just there. Let's get to 100,000 and we can all celebrate with some prizes. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.